Hey there, I hope you're well. So, the other day, a few days ago, HashiCorp came out with a new release, version 1.12.0 of Terraform. Just looking at the GitHub releases page right now, and we can see here new features and enhancements. I just wanted to talk real quick about a few of them, what kind of stood out for me. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do with Terraform tests. Actually, 1, 2, 3 different things. I've actually never used this before, so it doesn't really pop for me, but if you're a big user of this feature, then it probably will be quite relevant to you. It's talking here about parallelism. That was the major thing that stood out to me. But let me talk about a few of the other things. So there's now a Terraform backend implementation for OCI object storage. That's basically Oracle Cloud. So Oracle Cloud is one of the biggest clouds after the big three, AWS, Azure, Google. And you got Oracle, Alibaba Cloud, there's another one I forget, but those are like the next big players. So that's pretty significant. If you're in Oracle Cloud, there's a provider, of course, but if you've never been able to put your back end there in object storage, well, now you can, because they've added the implementation. And that is the single new feature that they're talking about in this version of Terraform. The other things they're talking about, they call enhancements. So I guess these are slightly smaller wins. I mentioned the Terraform test. What else stands out for me? Well, this also stands out for me. Backend OSS. So you got better support. So this is the backend in Alibaba Cloud. So in a similar way to Oracle Cloud, you can now see that Terraform is bringing out more and more support for other major clouds after the big three. What else is here? This is the other major thing that I want to talk about today, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. You got this thing here called import blocks, and now support importing a resource via a new identity attribute, an attribute called identity, and it's mutually exclusive with the current ID attribute. So I'm going to switch screens now just to show you how this works. So I'm now on my Linux box. I got a directory here called Terraform 1.12 where I've been experimenting, and let's have a look at this file I got called bucket.tf. So this is actually a bucket that I made, a test bucket, because I wanted to try out this new feature, and I actually learned that this new feature, Terraform now supports it, but it requires the provider to also support it. So the first step is the new release of Terraform needs to support it, the tool needs to support it, but then this is a green light now for providers to go ahead and include this, and I'll show you why. So the existing way is like this. By the way, you can run Terraform import, but if you want to import as configuration, you should use an import block like this. I actually have another video on this, and I'd commented this out while I was testing the new way, which I'm going to show you. But the original way, if you just ignore these comments, is to say that I want to import to this resource, which is the same as this one down here, and the basis of my import is you should look in my cloud account or subscription or whatever and look for a resource with this ID. Now the new way is to say, well, not only can you look on ID, but you can look on other things as well. So you can look on something called identity, and the example they give, which I'm going to show you in a second, is something called name. In fact, let me show you right now. So here we are back on the GitHub page, and this is the linked issue and related PR. So let's have a look at this page. And yeah, I love this kind of transparency. You know, you can see everything that was related to it, and conversation and stuff. Now let me find here, there is a test that you can see, and there you can see I've highlighted that the person, the author, has added some tests. Let me show you this test, and here we are. You can see the path here, HashiCorp Terraform repository, internal Terraform test data import identity module. Let's have a look at main.tf, and you can see that it looks like this. So this is the new part. Previously it would just say ID equals whatever the ID is, but now you can import in something else, identity, and in this case name equals. Now of course I tried that, and I tried with name and it didn't work, and then you can see my next attempt was to maybe try on, and that didn't work either. And I want to show you the kind of error that you will get if I do a Terraform plan. Let's have a look, and it says here unknown identity type. Basically the provider needs to support this, the ability to reach out and import based on identity. So it's enabled in the tool first, and now people who are developing the providers can go ahead and implement this in the provider. So far, before that PR was merged, it was done on some kind of test provider, but it's only there that it exists so far. So this is quite interesting. Now, one final thing to say is you may be wondering, well, what's the point of having an alternative to the existing, which is to import with ID? Well, in, for example, AWS, the name of something tends to be the same as the ID. It'll just be what you named it. It could be a bucket name, it could be an EC2 name, or something like that. Pretty short and sweet. However, in other providers can be very different, and a big case is Azure. Azure has this awful IDs that are kind of hierarchical: subscription, resource group, I think resource type, that type of thing. It just looks like a really long directory path, and they're pretty nasty, they're pretty long strings. Is that really a big deal? You know, it's a little bit harder to copy and paste maybe. I don't really think it's a big deal. It does make your code occupy many columns, which is kind of a pain, and it would be more readable, your code, for sure, if you're able to import based on something else, such as a simple resource name perhaps. So that is one thing, you would end up with more readable code, but aside from that, I don't really think it's that big a deal. At the end of the day, if you want to import orphan resources into Terraform, you've got to go out there into your cloud account using the UI or using the CLI or whatever, and you've got to discover these things and validate them for yourself anyway. I don't really see what difference it makes if you've got a very long string or a very short string. In fact, a long string arguably is going to be more precise and less likely that you accidentally choose another resource that maybe has perhaps a similar name or something like that. So I don't really see the huge benefit of this, but time will tell, and it's very early days. So anyway, that's it for this quick video. I just want to tell you about Terraform version 1.12, so have fun.